Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Yes, my new little baba, he's joining me today. I'm here with a Blu Ray update. I'm trying not to shout too loud because I don't want to wake this little one up. But yes, this is my little love. Okay, yeah, Blu Ray update. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I've been buying quite a lot of stuff from charity shops recently. A few new pickups as well. But I'll just get straight into it. I'm going to reach down here and grab them. Yes, first one, Annihilation. I've been waiting for so long for this film to come out on Blu-ray over here. I went to my local supermarket and it was out on DVD, and I'm like, where the heck's the Blu-ray? I'm not buying it on DVD, only on Blu-ray, but yeah, I went into a different supermarket and they did have it on a deal as well. £9 I got it for. So yes, obviously my favourite film of last year. So yeah, made up that I can own that on Blu-ray finally. Next up, we've got The Road. Yeah, I've seen this film once. I remember it being quite dark, quite depressing. I'm not sure it's going to be one I'm going to... Ooh. You may want to start crying. No, he's alright. I don't remember having a particularly fun time with this, but I do think that it was exceptionally well made. So yeah, I picked this up from a charity shop for £1.50. So I thought, yeah, why not? I'll give that another go. Next up is Hostiles. I have watched this since buying it. I thought it was a very good film. Probably my favourite from director Scott Cooper, to be honest. So he made Crazy Heart, which I wasn't particularly sold on. The Johnny Depp one, where he plays the gangster. Can never remember the name of that film. And Out of the Furnace, which I thought was pretty good as well. Yeah, really good Western. They don't make too many Westerns these days, and when they do, they kind of fly under the radar, a little bit like this one did. But it's definitely worth checking out. Cracking performance from Christian Bale and also from Rosamund Pike. Next up is Cabin in the Woods. Patron of mine, Joseph Lionel, one of my biggest supporters really. He's always been there for me behind the scenes and whatnot. He really loves this film. He finds ample opportunity on various Facebook groups to bring it up in conversation. I've seen it. I did like it. I particularly like Bradley Cooper. I'm a big fan of Bradley Cooper. Sorry, Bradley Whitford, I should say. I am a fan of Bradley Cooper, but no, Bradley Whitford I'm a really big fan of. And I like him in this. I thought he was really great in this, really funny. I have been meaning to give this another watch. And for £2 from a charity shop, it's definitely worth it. Next up is Shutter Island. This is a film that was released the same year as Inception and has very similar themes and vibes as Inception. It might not look like it on the surface, but when you think about it, Leonardo DiCaprio playing a man who, well, without giving away the ending, you know, if you've seen Inception, if you've seen this, think about it. Those two characters have a lot in common. Yeah, I feel like they would make a very good double bill. But yeah, it's a good Scorsese film. I am someone who thinks that a lot of Scorsese stuff is overrated, and I know that word is overrated, but I still rate him quite highly, but not quite as highly as most people. And yet the films of his that people don't really talk about that much, Silence, Hugo, they're my two favourite films of his. But this is a good one. It's solid stuff with a great central performance by DiCaprio. Next up is Suspiria. My wife found this for me in a charity shop, I think for 50p. I'm not a fan of Dario Argento for the very small number of films of his that I've seen. I started watching this. I got 45 minutes in. I've no real urge to go back and finish watching, to be honest. I don't get it myself. I get the film. I understand the film. I don't get the whole Giallo thing or the whole Dario Argento thing. This film has been touted as a classic by many people, even friends of mine. I'm just not seeing it. Next up is a film called Trespass. This was a gift to me from my good friend Graham over at Man v Film, also my podcasting partner on Brits on Flicks. He really likes this film, and yeah, he had another copy and he gave it to me because like I say, he rates it. I'd never heard of it until he sent it to me, to be honest. But it's directed by Walter Hill, who I have heard of and who has made some pretty good work. So yeah, I definitely look forward to checking that out. Next up is Aquaman, a film that I really enjoyed quite considerably. A lot of people said it's kind of improved DC's output. I'm not one of those people. I still rate Man of Steel and Batman v Superman a bit higher than this, as is Wonder Woman. But it's good. I enjoyed it. I do think that Marvel kind of thing is kicking in a bit with DC. They're overloading a bit with humour maybe. But I still enjoyed this. The world they created was absolutely fantastic. Really beautiful to look at. I want to go there. Next up is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I liked this more than the first one. I did like the first one, more so on second watch than I did the first watch. But this one, yeah, first time around, I enjoyed it more than I did the first film. I think it benefits greatly from having a much stronger villain, someone whose motives, has a motive for being the way they are, rather than just being a megalomaniac. So yeah, it's a good time. It's Marvel. Marvel don't tend to do anything less than a 4-star movie. So yeah, you know what you're getting essentially. Next up is The Babadook. This is a film that sits in two camps. You either love it and think it's one of the best horror movies of the last 20 years, or you're someone who thinks it's completely overrated and it just didn't scare you at all. I fit into the former camp. I think it is one of the best horror films of the last 20 years, along with It Follows. It Follows and this really up there as the two that have kind of, just really blown me away when it comes to horror movies. So just a really good psychological drama about postnatal depression, grief of a loved one, guilt in parenthood, all those things that come into, the fears of raising a child. And it's just beautifully, brilliantly told. Next up is Flowers of War. Again, this is another gift from Graham from Man v Film. He knew that I was after this, mostly because my brother said he'd seen it in the pound shop, literally for like £1. And I missed out. I went to my local pound shop. It wasn't there. But yes, Graham found it and got it for me. So thank you, Graham. By one of my favourite directors, Zhang Yimou, or Yimou Zhang, depending on which side of the continent you're on. Again, cracking performance by Christian Bale, who quite frankly is one of the best actors working today. And yeah, it's a hard-hitting film. It's not an easy watch. There's some grim stuff in it. It is about the rape of Nanking, but it is a rewarding film if you can stomach some of those low points. Next up is Gravity. This is a film that I'm not quite as sold on as anyone else, as everyone else, I should say. I certainly don't think it should have been nominated for Best Picture. But I do think it has a good central performance from Sandra Bullock. I think the special effects are really great. And I like the gimmick of having it done as if it was all in one shot. I just don't think it was Best Picture material. I know I'm in the minority on that one, but hey ho, I can think of a dozen films that year that I would have voted over this one. Next up is Kick-Ass 2. Again, another cheap buy from a charity shop. Can't quite remember how much I got this for, but I feel like this film has been much maligned. I love the first one, and I thought this was a perfectly worthy sequel. I think Jim Carrey steals the show for the most part. But no, it's a great continuation of the story that, started in the first film. And it's a shame we're not going to get a completion of the trilogy, really, because it didn't do too well at the box office and critics kind of went for the jugular with it. I don't know why, because like I say, I really enjoy it. I have fun with it, a great deal of fun. So, yeah, Kick-Ass 2, what can I say? Next up is Kikujiro by Takeshi Kitano, who made a really great film, Zatoichi. There's been many Zatoichi movies, but he did a fairly recent one a few years back, which was excellent, which is the reason I asked my wife to pick this up. She was in a charity shop, hey-ho. She saw this, she rang me and said, do you want it? And I was like, yes. For £1.50 or whatever it was, yes, definitely. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find something like this in somewhere like HMV for less than, I don't know, a tenner. The foreign film section, they tend to keep the prices up, so that was a steal, absolute steal. Next up is Let Me In. Let the Right One In is one of my favourite horror movies of all time. I did see the first 10 minutes of this one time, and I kind of felt like, what's the point? I stopped it, not because I wasn't interested, but because I think I had something else that needed doing at the time, and I just never went back to it. I never felt the need to go back to it, just because, as I say, I loved the original so much, and I feel like this was just going to be a carbon copy, just in English, so I didn't really see the point. But I do like Matt Reeves as a director, what he did with those two Planet of the Apes movies that he directed, and the fact that he's doing the Batman, which, if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know I'm a huge Batman fanatic. So yeah, I do want to check this out, just for the sake of completion, I guess. So I'm open-minded. Next up is Life of Pi by Ang Lee, who is one of my favourite directors. Ang Lee, for me, he's one of those, a bit like Stanley Kubrick, in the sense that he turns his hand to any genre and excels in it. And there are not many directors like that. It must be said, a lot of directors stick to a particular wheelhouse. They tend to be famous for working in a particular genre. And if they do go to a different genre, it doesn't tend to fare as well as the genre they're really strong in. Ang Lee, as I say, like Stanley Kubrick, some people may scoff at me putting them in the same sentence together, but he does. He's worked in nearly every genre, and he's made a pretty damn good film in every genre. Stanley Kubrick never did a Western. Ang Lee has, and it was a really great Western, So, yeah, I think when you're talking great directors, Ang Lee's up there, and I think this film is something special. It feels like quite a spiritual experience when you watch it, I'd say. I think it's one of those films that, whatever faith you might have, you can come to it and get something from it, because the themes that are within it are pretty much relatable across the board. Next up is Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. Now, these are the theatrical editions. Personally, I don't really want to watch the theatrical editions. If I'm going to stick it on, I'm going to watch the extended editions. But I've never been able to get me and my wife to sit down together and watch them. She's never seen the Lord of the Rings films. And the prospect of watching shorter versions for her is a bit more enticing. So we picked this up in a charity shop for £3. And if she ever decides to sit down with me and watch it, then bonus. Next up is what I believe to be Guillermo del Toro's best film still, and that is Pan's Labyrinth. I'm sure a lot of people will say Shape of Water. I don't think The Shape of Water touches Pan's Labyrinth, quite frankly. I think this is still his best film. I think it's absolute masterpiece. I think it's, if every director had a film like this in their back catalogue, they could probably go to their grave quite satisfied. So yeah, Pan's Labyrinth, brilliant stuff. Next up, Star Trek Into Darkness. I do have this on DVD. I've been basically just upgraded. It is a good film. It's one that has grown on me a lot more with each watch. I didn't like it as much the first time around. I predicted a lot of stuff that was going to happen in the film, and that kind of spoilt it for me a bit. But I think going back on a second watch, watching it on its own terms, knowing the plot, and just kind of sitting back more and just enjoying the action. Like I say, it has grown on me, and I do like Cumberbatch as the villain. Next is Star Wars The Last Jedi. A lot of people really hate this film, usually Star Wars fans, which is bizarre to me. Although, that being said, I've never been the biggest Star Wars fan until the new movies. I love this one. I think it's up there for me. When I'm ranking the Star Wars movies, I'd put it in my top 5. A lot of people think I'm smoking crack for that, but no, I love it. I love the story. I love the character work in it. There's a few plots in there that I don't feel quite need to be there, but it doesn't spoil the movie for me. It doesn't make it unwatchable. But I love all the stuff between Luke and Rey. I love all the stuff with Kylo Ren. So yeah, I think it's a really great movie. I think Rian Johnson did a fantastic job of juggling these balls and giving us something that we didn't expect. He did something different with it. If you're not going somewhere new, why bother? So yeah, I think it's a great film. Next up, another J.J. Abrams film, Super 8. I love this one. The first time around, I didn't. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very solid. Bit of a Spielberg kind of riff. But the second and third times I watched it, I really loved it. Really loved it. Loved the character work in it between the kids. It does feel like a genuine kind of 80s movie, but obviously through the filter of today's special effects. Abrams clearly has a love for that period. He grew up in that period. He kind of worked within the studio as a young man, even for Spielberg at one point during that period. So yeah, his movies, him as a director, is very much shaped by Spielberg. This feels like a love letter to Spielberg, but a very good one that does him justice. Next up is Wild. This is directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, who directed a series with Amy Adams recently called Sharp Objects, which I absolutely loved. Cracking series. The movies he's made that I've seen as well previously have been really good. Demolition, Dallas Buyers Club. So yeah, he's someone I trust. Reese Witherspoon is someone I trust to give a good performance, so I'm looking forward to this. It was a blind buy, but I'm pretty sure it will be good. And finally, we've got a young Bruce Lee. Never heard of it, don't know anything about it, except obviously it's about a young Bruce Lee. My wife picked it up cheap at CEX, so yeah, I think it was like £1 or something. I think she got it from a charity shop. It had previously been in CX because it's got the sticker on, but I don't know if it's any good. Like I say, I've never heard of it, but it's a cheapo buy. It could turn out to be a hidden gem. So yeah, young Bruce Lee. There you go. So that is it. That is my update of Blu-rays that I've been buying. Please do comment below. Let me know what you thought of any of those purchases if you've seen them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye from me, and goodbye from this little fella.